We encounter racism every single day. Some of the worst racists carry a gun, and they carry a badge.
You probably think, if you are not from Canada, as the RCMP as the friendly little wonderful people who do this thing, right?
Our country reeks of trees. Our yaks are really large, and they smell like rotting beef carcasses. And we have to clean up after them, and our saddle sores are the best. We proudly wear women's clothing, and searing sand blows up our skirts.
Right. That's what most people think of the RCMP. And, you know, it's not entirely historically inaccurate. I mean, it is basically the national anthem of Canada being played simultaneously with what exactly the RCMP do. But we always talk about the United States when it comes to racism and racist cops and cops killing indiscriminately. And, you know, there seems to be some kind of a systematic oppression that is enabling the marginalization of black communities in the United States. And it's a horrible thing. It's a terrible thing. And we shouldn't abide by it. But Canada is much better. In Canada, we've solved these problems. In Canada, we've come to terms with marginalized communities. And oh no, exclusive. And this, by the way, is an exclusive Guardian story. Canada did not report on this story and is now just catching up and is kind of playing, oh shit, this isn't good. You know, it's never good when a foreign country's press reports on your own activities. But Canada police prepared to shoot Indigenous activists, documents show. Canadian police were prepared to shoot Indigenous land defenders blockading the construction of a natural gas pipeline in northern British Columbia, according to documents seen by The Guardian. Notes from a strategy session for a militarized raid on ancestral lands of the Wet'suwet'en Nation, and my apologies if I'm not pronouncing that correctly, show that commanders of Canada's National Police Force, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, or the RCMP, argued that lethal overwatch is required, a term for deploying snipers. The RCMP commanders also instructed officers to use as much violence towards the gates as you want ahead of the operation to remove a roadblock which has been ejected by the Wet'suwet'en people to control access to their territories and stop construction of the proposed 670-kilometer coastal gas link pipeline. In a separate document, the RCMP officer states that arrests should be necessary for sterilizing the site. Sterilizing. The language used was sterilizing. Think about that for a second. The Wet'suwet'en people used the supporters to set up a checkpoint in December 2018 to block construction of the pipeline through this region of mountains and pine forests 750 miles north of Vancouver. On the 7th of January, RCMP officers dressed in military green fatigues and armed with assault rifles descended on the checkpoint, dismantling the gate and arresting 14 people. For those of you unfamiliar, there has been a large amount of protests going on against the construction of pipelines in Canada, and they're normally led by the Aboriginal communities. The Aboriginal communities have been blocking their construction, especially when it goes through ancestral lands. They feel, and I think it's rightly so, that they should have autonomy over their own areas and regions, and to a certain extent they do, but it seems not when it comes to the construction of oil pipelines or big business. And there has been, unfortunately, a lot of clash that goes on between the Aboriginal communities and the police because of this. These are some of the pictures of like the outposts and the checkpoints. This is basically giving you a little breakdown near British Columbia where this is happening. I happen to know quite a bit of the individuals who have been in these protests at the front lines, basically, you know, in their own words, trying to save the earth, which is basically what they're doing. This is the first time we've had documents released, though, that show that the RCMP were basically stating that they were going to use lethal force when engaging with the Aboriginal communities. And again, this was released by The Guardian. This wasn't released by Canadian news agencies. So super, super fucked up. Not the Ren and Stimpy childhood that we all remember. And for anyone who's not completely familiar, here's a quick little recap of how exactly things go down between the Aboriginal communities and the police in Canada.
We encounter racism every single day. Some of the worst racists carry a gun, and they carry a badge authorized by you, Commissioner Paulson, to do the work. We need you to confront racism in the ranks. Now, when I met with the senior Indian agent across the water, she told me, oh, no, some of the police are great. You're talking about 1 or 2 bad apples. Well, why is it I have to keep dealing with bad apples? I do not disagree that you have wonderful public servants in your employ. You'll never hear me say that. Some of them are from my community. I'm related to some of them, not as close as Perry, but I'm related to some of those that serve you and, more importantly, serve us. I love and respect those public servants. They put the safety of others before their own. I know that. They're from my communities. So I appreciate that, but I'm talking about the other ones. Now, not that long ago, a First Nations constable committed suicide. The RCMP as an employer did not take care of that officer. The RCMP failed to make sure that one of their officers was properly looked after. Shame on you, Mr. Paulson. Shame on all of those decision makers. You have to take care of your own troops. That's on you, Mr. Paulson. I want to close with this. I don't like the kinds of politics that we've had for the last decade. I don't. I don't like the fact that Aboriginal men were blamed. We were blamed for all the violence against our women. We knew that wasn't the case, Commissioner Paulson, but somebody informed the government of the day that we were responsible. That was you or someone in your employ that did that. Shame on you, Mr. Paulson. You want to earn trust? You start by owning the truth and apologizing and doing more than apologizing. You start acting on the direction of government about reconciliation. It starts now or you won't get your job done.
Did you enjoy what you just watched and now crave more nectar of the damned? Did you know that if you're watching on YouTube, you're only getting half the surfy experience? We upload all of our content commercial and censorship free to our Patreon. Due to the general demonetization of our videos, we now upload half of our original content directly to those who can help us produce this show. Want even more nectar than that? Well, come join us at twitch.tv/TheSerfsTV, where we do weekly live streams, debates, interviews, AMAs, and more. If you're an Amazon Prime member, you can help support our show 100% free by subscribing to our Twitch channel. So come join us, be merry, and know that your support is helping us do great things. Like pay rent and eat. Ricky Pilgrim, I'm Raft, and Michaela Schmidt. You are the pillars of our organization. To our Knights of the Surf Table, Paul Parfit, Daniel Kahn, Fair Tahan, Clement Chutskoff, Schizosaurus, Josh Mickelson, Dr. Zayas, Cooper Pilot, Andre Lynn Epperly, Dylan Bith, Terry, Todd Buckingham, Jed Lewis, Todd Lajeunesse.